I'm Ashton Addison from EventChain for Investmentpitch Media and FinTech News Network. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Jake Wujastyk, the Chief Evangelist of Trendspider. Jake, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to diving in a little deeper into Trendspider.
Likewise, I'm very excited to learn a little bit about Trendspider. If you could kick off the interview by giving a little bit of background on what exactly is Trendspider and how is it making the trading an easier place?
So Trendspider is really three different things. It's an automation tool. It's a platform for creating alerts, creating screens, whether that's a scan for a simple MACD cross or something more complicated. And then the last part is the innovation side. So really, we're a technical analysis platform trying to innovate the entire process of how people look at charts, how they create alerts, how they watch stocks. So the product is really something that's grown over time. It's not like we, just all of a sudden had all this stuff. It really started off as an automation tool for trend lines about two and a half years ago. And then from there, from just customer feedback, overall feedback from partners, we really have morphed into a technical analysis platform. And the whole point of the platform is to make things more efficient. So it's anywhere from drawing trend lines, removing that bias, so you don't have to draw 30 trend lines and then delete half of them. Even drawing Fibonacci levels, measured moves are automated. So this is something that really allows you to still have your discretionary analysis, but it's still complemented by the platform as almost an idea generator. So that is really the platform in a nutshell, is to make technical analysis more efficient, all the way from drawing your first trend line to setting an alert to actually make a trade.
Very interesting. And Trendspider has been growing a lot in the cryptocurrency trading industry. I've seen it all over Twitter, but I know that you don't just have crypto charts. You mainly have the stock market and forex and more. Are you seeing a majority of your users still in the main stock market, and is the crypto part growing?
So I think it's really a function of how active the stock market is. So back when the market crashed in February and March, you had a lot of people in crypto who kind of came over to trade stocks because there was just more liquidity and there was more kind of action, and blue chip stocks were trading like a cryptocurrency. So as time has passed and the market's kind of, I don't want to say topped out, but definitely not making moves like it was, we have seen more people kind of go that direction with crypto. You've had Link that's ripped recently. You've got Ethereum looking very interesting right now. So I'm definitely seeing more people jumping back onto the crypto side. So it's really just a function of how volatile the stock market is, and then that kind of will kind of direct traders where to go from there.
And has that economic volatility, and since the start of the pandemic with the stock market moving so rapidly, has that reflected in the growth of Trendspider as well?
Yeah, and it's hard to point what that exactly is. Is it the volatility in the market? Is it the fact that nobody can trade, or no one can bet on sports anymore because there are no sports right now? It's really hard to say what exactly that's come from, but you've got your bigger leaders like Dave Portnoy, who used to be a huge sports bettor, and I have friends who used to be sports bettors, and all of a sudden now they're trading options, and it's like, whoa, when did that happen? So I really think it's a mix of volatility, but it's also a mix of just overall lack of other places to, quote unquote, gamble, if you want to put it that way, play the odds, however you want to put it. And so I think it's a mix of the volatility and a mix of just the overall environment where, some of these people have kind of funneled into the market that you don't typically see.
Yeah, it's quite the crazy time right now. And you mentioned that there's 3 levels to Trendspider: automation, alerts, and innovation. If we could dive into the automation, I know you talked about the trend lines and some other technical analysis tools that help traders. It'd be great if we could bring that up.
Sure. So I'll just do an example of a chart on essentially just Bitcoin, and we'll go with a blank chart here. And so just want to confirm that you can see my screen.
Yep.
Awesome. So what we have here is just a completely blank chart with Bitcoin, just pretty much the daily price action. So The first part of TrendSpider, as you mentioned, the automation, really comes in the form of trends and autofib. So these two buttons up here. So you'll see when I turn on trends, you'll see all of these lines pop up. Now, I'm a very kind of clean analyst, if you will. I don't like a lot of stuff on my chart when I'm looking, and this is kind of the first step to the trend lines, right? So, this is almost a bunch of permutations that can be attributed to the price action. So, someone may want to lock in this huge formation right here. So what you do is you just double click on both of those lines, you turn off trends, and all of a sudden you see that we are starting to maybe break down here. So that's just one view of about 100. So we go back, turn on trends. Maybe someone's looking more at this price action and this kind of wedge right here, and that's no different than someone else's perspective. It's just honestly how people view the market. So this allows you to kind of be less biased and more just efficient with your technical analysis. So notice here, I don't keep all of those lines on the chart. I'm simply just choosing the lines that I want to lock in. So you still have that discretion. Let's say I want to lock this in and I want to lock this in. That's a whole nother view as well. And this will show that we're right at the apex of the symmetrical triangle. So, it's there to, because that was one of the big hurdles we had at first was, yeah, that sounds cool, but I kind of like drawing my own trend lines. And I'm like, well, so do I. How do we kind of, get this where people can really see the value? And so once you're able to kind of get past the automation side and realize that there still is discretion to these trend lines, it really allows you to be more efficient, allows you to see the market less biased, and just overall, what is the price action showing? Now, the thing about trends is that this is not like, when I turn this on, this is not every single line that TrendSpider can find. This is based on the preferences that we currently have open. I have enhanced. The analysis type is going to be just the distance between the data points, or the price action. So enhanced is going to kind of find some of those closer kind of symmetrical triangle setups. If we go to something like original, you'll see how these lines kind of get bigger. And now we've kind of got this setup. If you want to like lock that in, that's a completely different view from what we were looking at before. So this is not TrendSpiders lines that you can then pick. This is, you choose which trend line preferences that you want and that match your style, and then you're able to go from there. So analysis type is the first one. Notice here I can change my drawing input from wick to wick to body to body. So if you are someone who's drawing body to body instead of wick to wick, you can use that. And then the system, and this isn't really relevant for crypto, but if you do want to ignore or respect gaps in price, you can also do that here. So something like Tesla or one of your really gappy stocks is going to give you a different view than necessarily you would get just with something like S&P 500 or the SPY that doesn't really have those huge gaps. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can actually use this, and it's not just one setting set that you have to choose from. It's a ton of different settings, and that's what really makes it unique and flexible. So you're not just using one setting and that's it. Notice here you will have some of these trend lines that are kind of random, but notice how this is really more of a line of best fit. So the system's not going to always draw the trend lines perfectly pretty, and everyone wants to see a pretty trend line drawing. Sometimes you're going to have these line of best fits and look at how perfectly the price action is still respecting this area. You've got it multiple times. You're not always going to have a perfect touch, but you can see how well the price has really respected these areas, give or take a few percent, quite a few times. So, that really takes me into the next part of TrendSpider as we talked about the alerts. And so let's say that I want to watch this trend line, and notice here, if I zoom in, we didn't necessarily hit this exact trend line, right? We got close, but we did not actually hit it. So what you're able to do is you're able to create an alert on the trend line, but instead of saying alert me when the price hits this exact area, you can right click and create an alert that has what's called sensitivity, or pretty much just margin of error. So as I move this back and forth, you'll see this purple area gets bigger and smaller. So rather than me having to go and say, all right, I need to put in 10 layered alerts so I don't miss, if we miss this by a couple bucks, I can use the sensitivity feature and say, okay, I want to be alerted when the price gets within $241 from this zone. And then you can say, all right, well, maybe I'm swing trading the daily, but I want to actually execute on the 30-minute or something like that, where you have to wait, but you don't have to wait for the full daily candle to actually confirm or close. So this allows you to be a swing trader, but also have those, those intraday alerts, so you can really play the daily candle, but be alerted when the 30-minute touches this area. So when I do confirmation candle 30, that just means anytime the 30-minute candle closes anywhere within this purple area, I'll be alerted. So that's one of the alerts. I could also go to breakthrough, which would just simply, with the breakthrough, you don't really need sensitivity because you're essentially having the system alert you whenever the price actually breaks through this line. So it's very flexible. It's not just like, your average alert system. This is something that's very proprietary to TrendSpider. And, it really helps you not have to sit in front of the chart all day. I mean, some people may even play this on the weekly chart and make alerts on the weekly chart. So, there's all different types of ways to use the platform. It's not just for day traders. It's not just for swing traders. You can even use this as an investor if you're just looking at a longer time frame.
Yeah, that's a really cool function with the margin of error. I haven't seen that before. And I was researching into your other tools, and I saw that you also have the market scanner, which helps you find good charts and charts that are about to explode. Can you talk a little bit about how that works?
Yep. So if you see here, I just went to this market scanner button. Anytime anything's toggled on the screen, it will turn green, and it will pop up. At least the market scanner will pop up below. And so what you can do is you can go in. Let's do crypto MACD cross. And what you can do is you can go in, make sure that you type in or click this crypto list button. And let's say that I want to scan for Ethereum on all the different exchanges. This allows you to kind of find possibly inefficiencies between one exchange and the other, or confluence between exchanges. So that is something you can do. You can also just go to completely, let's do Binance, all spot symbols. You could do this. And let's say you simply just want to look for a MACD cross. As I mentioned, it's Boolean algebra. It's not scripting. So you simply would go to the daily indicator, and you go down to MACD, has crossed up through the daily MACD signal. So that's just a simple bullish MACD cross, and then we can scan across Binance for all of these different things. In this case, we're not seeing anything right now. The thing that I didn't mention is the current candle. So the current candle is something that, let's say that you're trading what's called in force, meaning that you're trading something that actually is still forming. So let's say that you're maybe looking at the weekly candle and a hammer is possibly forming. Then you can actually scan that hammer while it's still forming. Even though it may not, actually close as a hammer, it allows you to kind of get a sneak peek on what these candles are doing, let's say Thursday night, right before, for stocks, or let's say on Sunday for crypto, you're able to kind of do that. So in this case, let's go to, maybe the weekly chart. I'm not sure if this is going to pull anything up, but if let's say the weekly MACD and the current candle, we would actually be scanning for weekly MACD crosses here. So here's one right here, BNB. You can see if we go to the weekly chart, you'll essentially see that the MACD is trying to cross here. But notice, for this particular week, it's not over yet. So this doesn't necessarily have to cross, but you're able to kind of get a sneak peek on what is potentially crossing. So another one is XRP BTC pair, and you can kind of see that starting to cross as well. So it's something that really allows you to not only search for things that have already happened, but things that are actually currently happening and what we call in force.
Very cool. Yeah, that's a very handy tool.
And that's just the MACD cross. I don't want to get too deep into it, but you can really create any type of condition. Let's say you want to do the weekly MACD cross, and let's say you want to add, a daily RSI break to the upside. You can do that as well. And as I mentioned, I'm not even sure if this will pull anything up, but let's say MACD RSI crossed up through the constant level of 40. You can do that as well. I'm not sure if that will actually pull up the two symbols that we already went over, but you're really able to get deep into these conditions without having to get into 2 pages of code.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's great. Well, we're running short on time, but I know we've looked over the current functions. Some of the current functions. I know you guys have so many, but could you talk a little bit about the future for TrendSpider? Do you guys have more products and releases that you have upcoming throughout the rest of 2020 as well?
Yes, so we are actually working on our second half of the year roadmap this week. But really the end goal of TrendSpider is to be able to trade through TrendSpider. So whether that's integrating your brokerage account and trading through the API, so you're able to get the data from your broker, because a lot of people, there's a lot of different sources of data out there. Maybe one source you're looking at is a couple ticks off from another source, and the last thing you want is to be trading off something that's not on your brokerage. So we really want to be able to integrate all broker data so you're able to trade off the data that you're actually making trades off of. Right now we do have real-time data, but it isn't actually, you can trade from Coinbase data, or you can trade from this. You can do that technically. So when I type in BTC USD Coinbase, it will pop up. But let's say like a particular stock. If you're trading maybe on TD Ameritrade versus Schwab, you may have some very slight discrepancies. And so being able to trade through your own broker and then eventually kind of automating the whole process is kind of where we see this. But the main goal of TrendSpider is always to continue to innovate. So that is really our number one goal. We are about to release some analyst different features that allow you to essentially back test an analyst. So let's say the analyst has been bearish on Apple the last 5 years. You can say, all right, well, I'm going to back test 2 weeks after they made this call and see if they were right or not, or 6 months, whatever the case is. So really just kind of getting back to that efficiency question that everyone has, and just try to make everything more efficient and less biased.
Yeah, very cool. That's a major update. And it'd be great if you could end the screen share. We could see your face right before we go and hear, how can viewers learn more about TrendSpider or get involved with the community?
Yes, so we have a lot of different channels that we're kind of on. So Twitter, I'd say, is our biggest channel. And the thing about Twitter is we don't just post random stuff. We post things to educate, to share knowledge. Let's say that we find something new about a raindrop chart, which we didn't touch on, but we can maybe put a little link in there for people to check out. So the whole point of it is really to make the whole process more efficient. And I think that is kind of so my partner Dan, he's always been in that side of things. He's always wanted some process that's manual to become more efficient through automation. And there are parts of trading that just can't be automated. I mean, there is discretion that you have to kind of have, but being able to not only innovate and share that knowledge on Twitter is huge. And show ways how you can be more efficient, not just tell you, kind of show you, okay, here's a video of me doing it. So there's a lot of good information on there. If you are a new trader, we do have some resources that you can check out. And trendspider.com is where you can check out all the pricing and all that good stuff.
Great. Thank you so much, Jake. I will leave the link to trendspider.com as well as your Twitter and your community links in the description box below. Thank you so much for the time. All the best with TrendSpider moving forward. And let's follow up in the near future.
Thank you so much. Thanks for including us, and have a great day.